those that have joined and have endured up to this very late stage of a week and a Friday. I trust that everybody's well, that you're safe, you're good, tired, but fulfilled and satisfied, but glad it's weekends. Have I surmised your state of mind and the vibe correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I don't have to keep you very long today, I won't keep you very long today. But yeah, thanks very much for those who've joined. And for those ladies, unfortunately, bear me and Zasha for a couple of minutes. I know the only reason why he's attending this afternoon session, he wants to get a final stab in before the Liverpool-Chelsea game tomorrow evening. And that's all good. Zasha, how are you feeling? What's your predictions? What's your gut say? Of course, I know what your heart says. What's your gut say?
So you always make me laugh, man. Nah, Chelsea's definitely winning tomorrow. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, I got a good feeling that
because he's a Liverpool fan, so there's going to be quite some rivalry tomorrow.
Well, if you win, I'll permit you to wear your jersey again on Monday. And I'm actually, because we're still online, you have to show it to everybody that you have done that. But I'll do exactly the opposite, obviously, when my team wins. Happy with the Champions League draw? Or I think we've got a bit of a tough group, but I suppose we could have been in Man City's shoes. Not that I really care, because they've had some very lucky draws over the last number of years. You all good with Chelsea is in the group for Champions League?
So, as far as I'm concerned, we're the champions. So every team that plays us must be concerned.
I know you've got the target on your backs, yes.
Yeah.
You've got the target on your back. That's all. That's good. But no, so far all good. Ladies, anything or plans for the weekend that you are prepared to share, or are you going to keep it secretive? And just go out and enjoy it anyway, or are you going to, well, do what the last slide in today's slide will indicate to us, and that is just chill, stay inside, weekend plans, not to go out, stay at home, not talk to too many people, all those kind of things that that were punishment when we were teenagers, and now they've become sort of adult goals, weekend goals. As I said yesterday, I want to, at this point, I know Friday is a tough one. I try to keep this Friday session either an overview, summary of where we are, or a discussion, which I would like to now already announce that, thanks for joining us, Stephanie. I would like to have next Friday session to become a discussion on the progress on your assignment. Not that there should be any problems, but just to make sure that everybody is on the right track. So it's going to be sort of a discussion session, discussion session. I want everybody to be there. Everybody will have to not show me what they've done, but I would like them to share what they've done up to this point, because it will just help us progress easier towards the submission date, which, believe it, next week we're in the 4th week of the semester already, and before you know it, it's week 8, and then you're writing your formal test, or traditionally known as the term test. That's why I thought today, you know what, and I'm encouraged by the attendance. I didn't expect as many students to actually be attending today. I did go onto Canvas to see that there were a few of you who were already on Canvas this morning, obviously because you had other classes, but in general, I'm quite happy with the time that is spent. There are a few individuals that I will individually contact that I don't feel spending enough time on Canvas, or if they have other resources that they use to stay up to speed with what we're doing, then I'll be glad to hear that. But yes, today's session, as I suggested yesterday, would just be a summary of what we have covered so far, because we at the end of week 3, and although a lot of the work that we've done are not new, because you have been exposed to it before in other modules over your 1.5-year study with Stadio. It is important still for us just to take that one step back and just reflect and say, right, whoa, where are we, and where does everything fit in, and where do we progress from here? So what we've done thus far is that we've determined what selling is, and I think we're all clear on that your objective as a salesperson would always be to make a sale. Straightforward, close the deal, make a sale, make your targets, and the company can achieve the objectives. However, in the process, by applying certain specific skills and following certain techniques and principles that will guarantee us greater success, we should not forget that the main important ingredient, especially, and that we did in chapter 1, especially in the most commonly used business philosophy or orientation nowadays, which is the customer-centered approach. Let's welcome our Namibian and see how the weather's out that way, and not forget that the customer still remains the most important element in the success of our operations. That's why the customer is the circle in the center on the screen, and everything we find in the 6 blocks surrounding it directs at the customer. The arrows point towards the customer. That's what we have to do to ensure that we make a complete transaction, yes, but also to ensure the customer is happy, that the customer leaves satisfied to such an extent that he wants to, or they want to return and continue doing business with us. Again, from chapter 1, what we've summarized is, or this is actually chapter 2. Your job as a salesperson in the modern era would be to make a sale, to retain a customer by providing him such a great level of after-sales service, follow-up work, that they return and eventually basically become loyal supporters of your brand or product. You will also have to equip yourself if you don't have it and work on it. I know that not too many of us are great with admin. It's one of those things that, you have to do it, but sure, isn't there a different way of doing it? Well, modern technology has made it a bit easier for us. So we have more access to information, but we have to obviously capture and update that information on our databases. In other words, manage our databases more efficiently. If we do that, it adds to the value that the customer experiences through the whole sales process. Customer relationship, we'll deal with that in, I think, chapter 10, sorry, I think, specifically, or in greater detail. But a good relationship with your customers is what's going to make your business thrive. Otherwise, you'll just be surviving, you'll make your targets, you'll be fine, but you'll have to put in so much work just to almost start from scratch every month, because you've neglected the manner in which you've conducted your business with your customers. You will obviously still have to pick up the phone and market the product. You will still have to go out and do the prospecting. You will still have to go out and do the promotions and ensure that the customer, that the best possible means of communicating with the customer, getting the information to the customer is completed. And that resolves in, or that all is taken up by the marketing activities of your function as a salesperson. And to ensure, probably the crucial element to ensure customer relationships are formed and established over a long period of time, is to solve problems. If you can solve a customer's problem, if you can say, you know what, sir, I know what you're saying, but there's a reason why our product is going to benefit you. Let me show you how you can actually cut on your or how you can increase your productivity, or how you can cut on your operating expenses if you invest in and buy from our company. Problem solving. If you can offer that to the customer, you'll have a customer for life. And if all of these are done collectively, you will add value to the customer's experience and they will be satisfied. Their needs would have been satisfied or will be satisfied. Different types of selling, we'll just quickly touch on that again. You've got order takers, order creators, and order getters. Order takers are the people who basically fulfill that role of just, well, these are all different sales roles, but the order takers are the people who are not creating new business. They don't get too involved in the persuading of or the process of persuading the customer. They pretty much man that stand. The customer, that's the person who completes the transaction, who takes the order, pushes the buttons on the till. Still part of the sales process, but not involved in the entire process, where you maybe initially shared information with the customer, answered some of the customer's questions. The customer's pretty much made up his mind already, came prepared, took what he wanted off the shelf, and goes to the checkout point, and that's where the order takers usually find themselves. Order creators, people who are actually on the road, that's your sales representatives. Those are the people who are going to businesses. That's the pharmaceutical rep who goes to the doctor and leaves some samples and that they can hand out to the customers, encouraging them to use a particular product rather than a competitor's, and that hopefully eventually results in them placing an order, or at least the customer using the product, because we know that in that scenario the doctors don't sell it, the pharmacists do, but the doctor recommends and has a great influence on what he prescribes the customer and what the customer eventually buys. Order getters, frontline people, those people who basically you'll find at the end of the phone, we'll phone the customer. Are you happy, satisfied? You ordered some products last month. How's your stock doing? Do you need more? Those are the people who actually assist with, after the sale has been completed, maybe to train the buyer and whoever's going to use the product in the correct use of the product. Assist with promotional, that's your merchandisers, assist with promotional layout. They all fulfill a specific sales function, and it's very often you find yourself in one of these three roles based on your specific skills and strengths. If you're not good in face-to-face communication with customers, you're probably going to find yourself as an order getter somewhere, making phone calls and fulfilling other role in the wholesale sales process. Right. We've also identified the difference between and why it's important to differentiate between what our objective strategies and tactics are, where our objectives is basically refer to what we want to, the legacy we want to leave, what we want to achieve, where your strategies gives you an indication of how you intend to achieve them, and our tactics are more refined, smaller, basic steps on what we do or routines that we have to do to ensure that we implement the strategies and actually achieve our objectives. We've also touched on what you have done in marketing already in your first year, and that is to determine where your strengths lie and where your weaknesses are through doing internal audits, which is your SWOT analysis, which will also provide you with an opportunity to look at what your competitors are doing. In other words, what they are doing better than you, which you would reflect on your balance sheet as a weakness and a potential threat, as opposed to the strengths and the weaknesses which are internal and which indicate where you have a competitive advantage, because it's a strength in your business as opposed to that of the competitor and what your competitors are offering in the market. You can also, and not can, you should, and almost do it on a continuous basis, do a pestle analysis to determine those external factors and forces that influence our business. Although we cannot control it, because it impacts on the outcome of the operations of our business, like the political factors, political stability. Recently in South Africa, and I heard yesterday that they say that because of the unrest that we've had in KZN and the rioting that we've had in KZN and Gauteng recently, it's going to take the country about 2 years just to get back to that point where we were before that happened. Especially the upgrading of the infrastructure that was damaged. The global economy, the local economy, we've touched on the unemployment rate earlier this week. Those are all factors that impact on your business. If people lose their jobs, more people become unemployed, they don't have an income, they don't have the spending power, you might lose customers as a result of that. So it directly impacts on your business. People's lifestyles, the social component, how that changes or is forced to change as a result of how the circumstances change. It impacts on your business. How technology and technological advances either positively or negatively affect your business. If you're in a business that in a manufacturing business, you have to, you're maybe forced because of technological advances, you probably have to maybe upgrade your manufacturing process. That comes at a cost, which you probably or most likely have not necessarily budgeted for. Other businesses, on the other hand, thrive as a result of technological advancement. So it's definitely a factor that we cannot control, like the legal aspects. If there are changes, and it was quite funny to read in the newspaper, although there's some strong arguments for the case that the Minister in Limpopo, Minister of Health in Limpopo, made yesterday, where she said that they're going to not sell liquor to people who have not been vaccinated, obviously if they're over the age of 18. Is that possible? Can it be done? I mean, there's strong arguments for and against such an approach. Basically, the labor law can or does protect a company who wants to enforce something like that, because it can impact. It's not necessarily related to liquor sales, but they can enforce it and expect you as an employer to be vaccinated, or you can lose your job, because it can impact on the other employees who have been vaccinated. So it can be a risk to the others if you have not been, and therefore, so it's very early days in that particular argument. But those are once discussions like this start, it means that it can eventually result in certain specific regulations being implemented, and that impacts on your business, like the change in the tobacco laws a number of years ago, forced certain businesses in the hospitality industry to make infrastructural changes so they can accommodate both smoking and non-smoking customers in their businesses, specifically restaurants, hotels, and these kind of businesses. So it is very important, people, that with everything in mind, we know what a pestle analysis objective is, and that is to sort of, as accurately as possible, look into the crystal ball, which we don't have, to try and prepare if something happens. How are we going to, what are our contingency plans in place if something happens? The marketing planning process you'll find on your screen. It is part of the summary because it just again indicates where the sales function fits into the entire marketing planning process, where specifically where salespeople in the entire marketing planning process play important roles, or where their contribution is greater than others, which would be the second step when we're doing the market analysis, getting feedback from the salespeople who are on the ground, who are in contact with the customers, and as a result of that can provide very important information that will help us with our market analysis. In forecasting also, because they have a very good idea of not just what is happening, because they are dealing with the sales on a daily basis, and they see if there are certain trends that indicate that there will be increase or sales, or maybe a maturity in sales, or even a drop in sales, which will help to intervene at a very early stage when we set our objectives, when the general marketing objectives are set, and then also when it comes to the budgeting component, third from the bottom, allocating the necessary resources, ensuring that it's in line with what the marketing strategy of the business is. In other words, what particular methods of communication are we going to use to reach our customers, and then also very importantly, the cost of all those activities and which ones are going to be more cost effective for us. Because sometimes, and that's part of what salespeople do when they set their objectives, they try and manage their time in such a manner that they limit the activities that are not profitable. If you can spend the majority of your time on activities every day that is more profitable, you obviously increase your opportunity, opportunities to be successful. Right. I'm not exactly sure. I'll quickly go to my textbook, but we had a chapter which dealt with, I think it was chapter 4 that specifically, or chapter 5 that specifically looked at the differences between organizational buying and individual consumer buying. The 6 items that we've identified is that, or differentiating components that we've identified, is that organizational buying is a bit more difficult because there are fewer buyers. Yes. It also takes the buyer longer to reach a decision because the transaction is such a complex transaction, and the risk that they stand to lose will, especially financially, is so much greater. The chances of a organization, of a business who have been or have enjoyed the success of the product that you have sold them, and who are satisfied with the entire process and not just the product, they are going to result in a return business. It makes it a bit easier, and it's tougher because obviously in this industry, the products that you will be selling are more durable. The products that you are selling, when you are selling to businesses, are items that they are not going to necessarily buy on a monthly basis. It's not stationary. You buy paper for your printer, the paper is finished, and you buy new paper. It's not the same as the actual copier that you're using, which will probably last you for 3 to 5 years at least. So you'll buy more paper than you'll buy copiers, which adds to the complexity of an organizational buy. There's also not too much negotiation that takes place when customers go to the shop and buy something like a cool drink or bread or milk or eggs or whatever, because they needed to instantly gratify and satisfy their needs. They don't have to consult too many people. They're not going to negotiate too much about the price. The one bread's 13 Rand, the other one is 12, the other one's 12.50. So very similar products, very similar pricing, so they're not going to negotiate too much. However, businesses buying 15 computers, we're buying 5 printers, we're buying 60 desks and chairs, bigger transaction, and they will obviously always not expect, but they will always enter into some form of negotiation before they make their final decision. Right, the next aspect that I want to highlight is, I think that was chapter 5, the behavioral, technological, and managerial forces that impact on how effectively you manage your sales. I think in this particular chapter, if you understand that diagram, and if you study this diagram and you know every item, you'll be able to easily write an essay of 3-4 pages on the content, and that's to me the important component in that particular chapter, chapter 5. If you understand the behavioral forces, technological forces, and managerial forces and how they impact on a business, we're not going to embroider on that because today is a summary. What we are going to do is we're going to focus on what happens if you trade internationally. The main reasons why businesses expand and trade internationally is because sometimes there's a particular product that's not available in a particular country. I mean, we know that very few countries, if any, can actually is self-sufficient and can provide in all the needs of the population, and therefore they'll find those items that they don't have and they'll import that and basically engage in some form of international trade, because they will probably have products that other countries don't have either. So the trade internationally is also because there are different competitive costs. Sometimes it's cheaper to import the product and actually manufacture it yourself, especially if new infrastructure has to be created. And then also there's product differentiations, which means that sometimes businesses find products elsewhere and rather export it to certain countries where the tax implications are so much more lucrative, because it's cheaper for them to manufacture it in a different country than actually exporting it from the country of origin. Right. The factors that we've identified in international trade, that's important for us to remember because they impact on our decision to expand our business globally. Different cultures that we have to be very sensitive towards, the different needs of different cultures, that we don't step into that minefield. Language a bit different, so whatever instructions we use, one word doesn't mean the same thing in different languages, in different cultures. Aesthetics, some people view certain colors and certain designs differently than others, and it will obviously impact on the packaging that you use and the wording that you use on your packaging. Religion is always a contentious issue, but a sensitive subject that obviously you cannot just ignore when you decide or consider to trade internationally. The level of education of the country that you are going to, or countries that you are considering to expand to, is very important, because you have to pitch your promotional material on the level that that those countries will understand. Otherwise, there will be a lot of information lost in translation. And then obviously nobody is going to invest in the country or try and open a business in the country that that has political instability. Not too many businesses, I think, at the moment would raise their hands to open in Afghanistan, for instance. Your responsibility as a salesperson, is to obviously make a sale. And you do that through identifying the customer's needs by creating a fantastic presentation, doing a 5-star demonstration. Ensure that you are ready to answer all possible objections that the customer can have, because that will lead to some form of negotiation, and then obviously closing the sale in such a manner that the customer feels, this is the product for me. I'm not just buying it because it's been a great sales pitch. I actually do see the true value and benefit that I can gain from buying this particular product. And we're talking about individual consumers as well as businesses. Right. I think almost the last important aspect to that forms part of our summary would be what we did in chapter 7 yesterday, and that is to look at the key responsibilities of a salesperson. Similar to what we've started off at the beginning of today's presentation and in chapter 1, is that the modern day salesperson have a variety of skills that they have to master. They need to obviously be able to do everything that we have on the screen, and that is to make the sale so the business can make a profit. But before they make a sale, to ensure that they have do proper prospecting, otherwise there will be no new customers. And you cannot just all the time go back to the customers that are happy and satisfied. At some point, what happens if you lose one of those customers, especially in industrial and selling? You will have to prospect continuously and find new customers. Database management, we've touched on that. Be knowledgeable, not just on your product that you're selling, knowing all the features, the benefits, and advantages. Make sure that you also know your competitors and what they are doing. Make sure that you have a general understanding of what the general economy is like. Make sure that you know what the customer needs. All three of those elements you need to have sufficient knowledge on. Manage yourself, especially manage your time. Know how to handle complaints, because that's part of what a salesperson will at some point have to deal with. Make sure that you always have the attitude of, or don't take any of the complaints personally, because that will just result in you getting into an argument, which is not necessary. You want to resolve that complaint. And if the financial implication, if the cost of satisfying the customer who's complaining is not very high, rather cut your losses and give the customer the benefit of the doubt. Relationship management, I said in chapter 10, we'll deal with that in greater detail, but I think you realize now already that it's a golden thread that runs through this module, that relationship management is key. In the process of your responsibilities and activities as a salesperson, you will obviously implement the sales objectives to ensure that the marketing strategies are achieved, and you will always attempt to offer the most amazing service that you can offer your customer. Right. I didn't realize that I didn't have that particular slide on the screen yet. That is just the illustration of what I've just said in the last couple of minutes. Identifying the key responsibilities of a modern day salesperson. Right. The factors that can improve your chances of being successful: product knowledge, especially the benefits. You're selling the benefits, you're not selling the product. The customer can see benefit, you will see value. If he sees value, you'll get rid of the money in his wallet and you have a deal. Knowledge of the competitors, make a proper presentation, plan your presentation so you can be you can be prepared for possible objections, and then obviously ensure that your negotiating skills is up to standard and that you know what your boundaries are within which you can negotiate. Know the policies, your credit policies, your discount policies of the businesses that you are representing, because that will allow you some leverage in a negotiation. Right. Where does that leave us? That leaves us with that moment that we realize, wow, it's weekend. It's Friday. It's a relief. It's a relief. It's almost 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and you've actually negotiated another week successfully. You've done well. Thanks very much for the endurance that you've shown up to this point, that you've lasted till the last minute. I'm pretty sure the benefits will be evident very soon when we start with our assessments. Thanks everybody. Thanks for joining the session. I'll upload everything that we've done and any changes to the PowerPoint slides that I've made as well for this week. You must enjoy a wonderful weekend. Ron, how's Namibia? How's the weather? Are you guys going outside? What are you doing for the weekend? Because we are pretty much going to stay inside here.
No, sir, I'm back in Cape Town.
You're back in Cape Town?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, not a good time to be back. It's a bit of a storm, a bit of a doozy the last couple of days, but
I enjoy it.
Yeah, I suppose that change of climate is also always very good and good for the soul. But anybody, whatever you've planned for the weekend, enjoy. Make good decisions, like I always say. Take care of yourself, and we'll chat again on Monday.
Thanks, sir. Bye.
It's a pleasure.
Bye.
Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Larissa. Thanks, everybody.